I wondered actually, like, as someone coming in after all these years off, like what it must have been like for you. Because if you come from Source, especially in the early days of CSGO, a lot of people don't know, but the weird part of this story of why French CS went into this dead end, where on the one hand, playing the loose happy style got them all those championships, but then this period you're talking about was basically the end of when that worked. Like, that was when they had Shox as the in-game leader. Like, that worked for a brief period. And what people don't know is, it's because it was all a reaction to the fact that they didn't want to play with Existence anymore. So since Existence is like the classic example of that, the guy who wants to take the tactic from spawn, and you're going to go here at this time, and I'm going to tell you when to throw the flashbang, old school way of playing basically, but it's very like strict tactical approach. When these guys left him and decided that didn't work, they really decided it didn't work, and so they didn't even want to ever do real tactics, and they wanted to just play off feeling and are my aims good today. So if you come back, it must have been a very weird scene to come back to.
That was not so easy. I mean, it was easier because I knew the guys, and as human beings, we were respecting each other a lot. Like we did many things together. So, and they were 15, 16, 17 years old. So the relationship was very healthy and easy for me at the beginning. But then proving myself on the game, understanding like the gap we had on how they were thinking, how it was running. And when I arrived, I had first of all to catch up on the game, because even though I had like 2K hours, 1K 5 hours on CSGO, and they had like the majors and everything, bro, it was not enough at all. So I could coach them because I was making a team back in the days. So you know how a team function, like fundamentals,
Yes.
how you want to run things, and you try to like at least like drive them in the right direction, how it should work, schedule practices, so you can have an impact actually from the start. But then it took a lot of time and involvement for myself to actually have the full picture and having like a full involvement in the game. Like nowadays, I mean, I'm like on all layers, trying to have the best experience possible. And that's the thing I didn't have maybe 3 years ago, basically. It was very tough to combine. And then you are losing a couple of events. You do like some maybe edgy calls, or you don't have like your brain functioning, because I didn't like had this tournaments pressure when I was leading in many years.
Yes, sure.
And then the first events you can fuck up here and there a bit, and you are like, okay, whoa, wow. And then, bro, Shox and everything or whatever players, they will not give you 20 chances. They will be like, bro, it's a bit difficult. I like what you do. I like what you bring. It's like, I understand we are getting better in the right directions, but at the beginning I had these struggles also myself to adjust. But just I didn't give up, and I did what I had to do, and I'm very happy right now. I think it's working actually well. So
sure,
I'd say so.
Like, I wanted to know actually, what did you think of that? Like, now it's old school, but at the time it was like 2014, 2015 French style, where they went this sort of loose approach, and it was about kind of like the star players set themselves up kind of in a way, because it certainly worked for a time. Like, there was a time when them and Fnatic, they were the kings of like the very basic style of CS. It was unbeatable at one point.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah, I'm interesting.
I think it's been proven that the looser style is pretty much the better style to play it during this time of Counter-Strike, I think. Just basically how teams like Fnatic played, or NIP, they were also not really the best strategical team. They were just playing very, very good individually. And I think that's what the French players also were, very, very strong individual players and well-rounded. And I think that the game was at the too early stage, that aiming was still beating knowledge, because I don't know, like during this period, probably we knew about Counter-Strike maybe 30%. Okay. And today I think we're at like 80, 85. So that's a huge difference. And if you just focus and practice as a team to play this individual style more, obviously you'll have it's not going to be just like playing random Counter-Strike. You'll have a plan how you play it. It's like Vitality right now, I think. They play a very compact style, but pretty much, how can I say, very, very individual based, I think. So they're always running with 3 people together and always frag, refrag. And I think that's a very interesting approach right now. And that kind of reflects me of how they played back then. So, yeah, I think it was just a better style to play back then in the meta. And the teams were also, the players, because also back then you have to consider there was not so many tournaments. So how many very good teams did you have back then? There was
Sure.
maybe like 4 or 5
Yes.
tier 1 teams. Then you had like 10 tier 2 teams, which you have today like 30 probably, or
Yes.
I don't know, like way more. So the competition was also way weaker. And also, if you play tournaments, there was always like the same teams in the top 8, for example. So they are just way ahead of you experience wise. So I think that the competition back then was way lower, and these teams were just individually much stronger.
What do you think,
So
Malik?
that's why I think the style worked.
I think like a lot of players in the French scene, the way it was built was to always have 2 or 3 voices that can actually carry like they call it game sense, the players. This is how they say, like players that are really well thought, that know how to analyze the game when
Yeah.
they're actually living, adapting themselves and everything. So they had all these fundamentals for many years with very games that was carrying through these things. And even though existence was going away, like NBK has been like playing so much with existence,
course,
just the same
yes.
and everything. And even though they were like trying to fly by themselves, they were, without even knowing, like applying so many fundamentals, protocols, clear things about
They
how
just
to
brought
react.
things over.
And then like they are like getting this confidence. The
Yeah.
level was, they were ahead also, like the set of players they had, like Legia said, well, they were like on top of the game on the roles
Sure.
they had. So for a while you can just fly in, and one day they wake up and by the way, they maybe forgot half of what existence taught them 2
Sure.
years before, because somehow it's like you forget these things. Also, they will not renew themselves because they play a lot out of confidence. And same, like what you said is very interesting. They play always the same guys. I've been competing every weekend against the same guys. If someone has an edge on me, to beat him 1 time, 2 times, I lose, like, let's say I play 10 times, 10 fucking event, and I will lose 8 times to existence. How tough it is for me to actually come over these guys. And I really think like on CSGO, I was not there, but it's what I see from knowing the French boys. How difficult was it for mentally for all these teams to actually get over these French guys? Because you could think, okay, I got them this time. No, you don't.
Yes.
And next event again, and next event again, till the day they start losing. But if you check like the results, it went actually fall down from a couple of key moments on the timeline.
Yes.
And once they lost a couple of times, actually trying hard, then it was done. Then it was just downhill all the way. Like they could never like stand up from it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean there, because like from talking to these guys over the years, what I would say is this, like, first of all, that style obviously can work now. Like he is pointing out, like there's some teams play that. Like if I had Zebu, I'd play quite loose, to be honest. I'd just try and set him up and have people with him, like you're saying, just have people refragging, etc. I wouldn't be making it super complicated, like he's a cog in a machine, because he's too good. But the point is, also part of it was tied to the personalities. Like I know Happy particularly. Here's the crazy thing. One day I'll do an article about this. And even though people think I flame the guy, it'll actually be an amazing article, because the article basically is like the first half of his CSGO career would be like an amazing movie, because people don't know he was the guy where all the rest of them didn't give a fuck about him. He was like the one who got kicked out of the teams, or when they made super teams, they left him behind, or when they brought him, it was like, right, well, you can come, but we're the leaders, you know. And so he had to basically wait until they all failed with existence and the other teams. And then in that moment, he just sort of stepped in, took over, and had this amazing success. He won 2 majors, he switched players, did it. Remember, he did it with 2 different lineups. Like, that's an amazing. So in that scenario, in a sense, being the guy who was like, oh, even if people tell me I'm wrong, I know I'm right. Like, I'm just going to believe what I believe, and I'm going to like be confident in myself, and I'm going to do things differently to other people. I'm going to have a different style. That worked really a lot the first part of his career. The problem is, when it came the time he had to do some changes, mate, the last 2 years, I mean, you must have known when you joined Envy. Like, dude, by the end, he had some really, really ridiculous, like, aspects. Like, I would watch, I'll give you one example, Malik. When you first were in Envy, I remember I would watch them play online, and he still had most good players, you know. He would play online, and you were doing proper tactics, it was looking good, he was making good reads, and then he would go to LAN, and he would like revert to the guy from 3 years ago, and he's trying to make all like hero calls, and like trying to like, he was like trying to be like a chess master and like read the game, but he was, it's like, it was almost like there was too much ego involved or something, you know, like instead of just be a captain, you know, just let the team play play the tactic out. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a movie every time where you call the amazing thing out of nowhere that no one else saw. Like, what would you say about it? Because Happy's identity was definitely tied to some of that stuff, right?
Is it for Lega or for me now?
For you, mate. Yeah.
For you.
Okay. First of all, if you talk to him, you must have this conversation with him. I think he's one of the smartest guy I ever talked to.
He's a very interesting
Like,
guy.
he's like his IQ. I don't know. Like I'm saying that up to my head, but I really think he's like very intelligent. This guy, like a lot. Then he had some success. What he was doing great, and on the first part of his career, like having all the successes, it's like that was this leader having a couple of rules. It's this kind of guy. You enter the room, there is just 3 rules to follow. First one, you trust me, you do whatever I want to do. Second, this. Third, this. And
Right.
and then you need to hold yourself when you play for me. Like, and Sharks at BK and Kenny S, yeah, they hold themselves. So it was working. And then I don't know why I'd argued so much with him, like so much. Like, bro, you need to work. Like, you need to. This guy never did any deathmatch, for example.
No,
Like,
by the way, if
he
people
was
don't
just
know,
like-
I'll just reveal a bit of info very quickly. Not only, as you're saying, he's not a guy who warmed up very much. Like, he would just go and play the game. And also, this might sound crazy, Ligia, he never used to watch demos. Like, even when he was winning all the tournaments, he wasn't watching the demo of Fnatic. He would just go play them. So, like, you can see that, in a sense, by the way, that means when it was working, he was probably a genius. Like, they probably had a great mind for the game. So, yeah, keep going, Malik. I thought I'd just throw that in there.
No, but that's how he was. Like, I think he was like having his nice period. Like, his confidence levels were super high, and he's very smart. He feels the game. He was using himself properly. Like, he could like trust some people. He had great relationship for a long time. He had a great relationship with NBK.
Yes.
And NBK is a more structured guy. He's from existent school, so I think it worked well. At some point, they were even in the same room for a long time, I think. And then they parted away, kind of. NBK was still playing for him for a long time, but they were not close anymore.
Yes.
And it stopped working. I think actually he always needed someone with him on the server. I couldn't help him out to work more or do this much or watch demos that much when we were working together when I come in NV. But having this guy in the team that is actually like trusting each other, working together, bringing some structures, NBK or Apex always welcoming and feeding Kenny with things. Not Happy. Happy was coming on the server, game day, great composure, like reading the game, always being chill, trying to find gaps, and the guys utilizing really well the feedback from the other players. And that's what was working. And then I think he was hoping to find that back, even though you have great names like Streams, XMS, I don't know, Sixer and everything in the roster we had. That was not it. And I don't know where it stands now. I have respects for his brain because every time I talked about the game with him, that was always really interesting. But he never did anything to really wake up. Like,
sure,
he never really like had this moment where he could change something, try something. Or I think same for his individual play. Actually,
yes.
I think he never really changed it.
Yeah,
we had many hours of discussions. Trust me, but
always lurking, always the guy on the opposite side of the map. Yeah, we all know the jokes. It's true, though, in a way.
So I don't know what else to say actually about that. It's just
well, actually, that's
unfortunate because he could, as always, to finish up.
Sorry.
If he would have like work or find a way to find like this ethics and change his way to think, he would still play on top level right now. He could. He's
agreed.
He's not that old. He's like, I don't know. He could have, but anyway.
Yeah, agreed.